Welcome back to Studio F, where on Fast Times Willy B, we'll be reviewing Spider-Man Far From Home. Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
Russell.
Welcome back to Fast Times Willy B. I'm Willy B. I got Kory back. Kory, how are we doing today?
I'm doing, bud. I'm doing good. I think that's what I meant to say.
Well, you know,
I was going to say good, bud.
Is a way to respond to that question, so I take it.
That's true.
I'm doing.
Okay, I'm doing, bud.
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Comma, bud.
Thank you for saving me. I haven't had a mess up that bad so far, and here we go. Anyway.
Actually, I feel like you did it last video, but...
Thanks, Will.
Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah.
I was going to say No Way Home, so I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
No mask today. After 35 minutes in that thing, it got really, really hard to breathe, and I was like, this might be a health risk.
Actually, I strongly disagree. I think this is your real face. Sorry, I'm really not doing a good job here. This is the mask.
This is the mask.
That was your real face.
That was my real face. So I'm wearing a mask today.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man Far From Home.
Yes.
John Watts, still in the director's chair.
Yeah, this is the movie with Spider-Man and Mysterio, right?
Yes.
Before I mess anything else up.
Yes,
Okay.
it is. We got
Sweet.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Christ. Yeah.
Coming in for Mysterio. Quentin Beck. You know, Michael Keaton and Jake Gyllenhaal is quite a two-man pull when it comes to villains. And
That's tough.
You talk about Spidey villains. They pulled some big names in Tobey's movies too, but right here they're pulling some big name guys for the villains.
I think Keaton and Gyllenhaal are both of my top three for Spider-Man villains we've seen on screen. At least top four, no lower.
Shooting the hot take before we even get to it. Good. But
yeah.
Outside of Jake Gyllenhaal, the cast is pretty much the same.
We have to get into we're going to get into the Jake Gyllenhaal, the insaneness behind that casting here in a minute, right?
Yeah.
The backstory. I mean. Okay.
Tom Holland, Jacob Batalon, Zendaya, Tony Revolori, list goes on. Samuel L. Jackson in this one, as Nick Fury makes an appearance in this one.
Yes. Very fun.
Marisa Tomei, Jon Favreau.
Oh.
Cast list goes on. But we'll start with the good. In the good, give us the backstory.
Plenty of good to say here. So the good, this is the first thing I ever found out even about the movie, is whenever Jake Gyllenhaal was, I think at first he was cast as, a Mysterio, they didn't say what villain exactly, but there was speculation about Mysterio rumors and stuff. And then I think finally there was some behind the scenes stuff, and then they eventually announced it. Or he did actually. It was with a comic. He was holding a comic book with an Instagram post. I remember it now. And the amazingness behind that whole thing is back in Spider-Man 2, which this is Tom Holland's second movie, so it's kind of interesting. Tobey Maguire injured his back on a horseback riding incident. Now, he said that he may not be able to return because of it, but there's rumors, speculation, and it's Hollywood. More than likely, he was just asking for more money.
Yeah.
And at first, Sony wasn't willing to pull out. He looked at Jack Nicholson's deal for Batman 89 and things like that, Arnold Schwarzenegger's deal, things like that. So he was looking for some more money. They casted Jake Gyllenhaal as Peter Parker in Spider-Man 2. He was casted to play Spider-Man, and then either somebody gave up, there was a compromise, and they came to a decision, which is why in Entourage, they're talking about how James Cameron makes this Aquaman movie, yada, yada, yada. Basically, the main star gets kicked in, and there's a little gag about, Vince is out. Jake Gyllenhaal is in, and that's a reference to that. So this was like Donnie Darko days. Gyllenhaal. He was. That's why people always say they look the same. They were in that movie Brothers and things like that. So that's what made this casting so amazing. And he's perfect for Mysterio. He looks like a Quentin Beck.
Oh yeah, I mean we can obviously we just started the good. And Mysterio is a villain that I wanted for a long time. And I think he was really, really done well in Far From Home. Me too.
I definitely have my nitpicks of things that I would change, but we all have things we would change. Yeah. As far as execution, I mean, especially the world we live in, and also you're folding him into the MCU, so you have to bring him into the state of that universe.
Yeah.
I think done excellently. I think he perfectly folds in with the barf thing, with the drone technology, those things, and kind of adapting him to be like a CGI villain rather than like a makeup and costumes villain.
Yeah.
great. I loved it.
No, I think they did a really good job integrating his character. And, I mean, you know, Jake Gyllenhaal, everybody knows you're getting a top-tier performance.
Absolutely.
When he's on the screen. And I think he does great as Spidey's foe in this film. And all around acting was great. I think, you know, Tom Holland gets a little more comfortable in the role here.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously, I loved him in Homecoming, but, you know, you're starting to really see him as Spider-Man in this one. And he's, you know, he wants that break, but, like, you get the little snippet at the beginning of where he's having his little battles, little montage there. We got the Mafia one because we got the extended cut in this theater watch.
Shocked me. I didn't know we were getting that. Yeah, I've wanted to see that scene folded into that movie for a long time.
But no, it was cool, you know, seeing him jump back into the role and battle on. You know, he's funny as ever in this one.
As ever.
Zendaya, you know, creeping into a bigger role. Revelori, this is probably my favorite movie. This is probably my favorite Flash from Tom Holland's 3 movies.
I would totally agree. I definitely think kind of too much of a dick in Homecoming.
Yeah.
Too much of a friend in No Way Home. I think this is the right balance.
The happy medium. Yep.
Yeah, this is the happy medium. That's a perfect way to put it.
Happy's awesome.
Oh my God, he's the best part about the movie. Let's be for real.
Oh, Happy.
I mean, just the scene alone where he throws that shield and biffs it. He's like, "How does Cap do that?"
Yeah.
Me and well, I went to see this with Austin in theaters.
Yeah.
I swear to you, we both peed in our seats laughing at that, and we were the only ones laughing. And still to this day, I recorded that scene when we rewatched it because I was like, I need to make sure everyone else is getting the laugh this scene deserves.
I leaned over to you during the movie and I was like, I love Happy. And then as soon as I leaned back over, Cole leans over to me and goes, I love Happy. I'm like, that was kind of insane.
Yeah, right.
But it's just, he's such a good character in all of the movies he's in the MCU. And Jon Favreau in general. I mean, I love him in Rudy. I love him in Vince Vaughn comedies, whether he's the asshole brother in Four Christmases or he's in Couples Retreat or The Breakup as the friend, you know. Jon Favreau, just anytime he's on screen, he makes me laugh.
He's great. I even love him in Daredevil, a movie that's not great, but God, I love his Foggy Nelson. I do.
But overall, I mean, again, we talked about it in the Homecoming review, and we're going to talk about it here. The casting was great, and that's something that they've really never missed on when it comes to the cinematic universe of Marvel.
Right.
But there's a lot of good in this movie.
Oh, so much. This is my favorite of the Holland trilogy.
This is second. I got eaten up by the nostalgia, so we'll get into that next week.
Sure we will.
But, I mean, this one's not far behind.
Yeah.
This is, you know, probably top 10, right on the brink of top 10, if not just out for MCU. Overall, Marvel probably closer to top 15 if you start throwing in the other Spider-Man movies and you start throwing in
the Marvel fluff. Legacy films,
the comic book based from Marvel, you know. But no, this one, you know, we get to see Spidey outside of New York, which is cool. You know, we see him.
It's interesting.
All over Europe. We see him in Italy. We see him in Prague. We see him in the Netherlands. We see him.
Yeah, funnily enough,
London.
That's kind of the thing I kind of don't like about that movie.
Yeah.
But like, it's nothing I hate. It's definitely like it's one of those things where it's like I don't personally love it, but it is. We've seen so much of Spidey in New York. We should eventually see. Something else.
Yeah, for sure.
And I kind of like the locales and how they integrate it. Yeah. Like we'll get into this later with action scenes, but that scene on the bridge, my God, I think
that's
great.
What I was gonna say. I don't know how much I love being out of New York, just like you. But I do love what they did with the locations we get, you know, as far as following the elementals.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the twist of the elementals not even being real. And I think all of that is super cool.
Super interesting.
I think the relationships that we see behind the curtains, too, we see him developing a relationship with Fury. We see him developing a relationship with Beck. We see him developing a relationship with MJ and him and Ned's continued relationship. Like, there's a lot of, you know, different things going on, and I think they're all done really well in this film.
I think there's a pretty good balance in most of those things. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely there is. I totally agree. There's a lot to get into with the good. I just in general, the comedy I also think works in Far From Home better than Homecoming.
Yes, that was one of my myths for Homecoming was some of the comedy didn't land. Most of the comedy lands in this movie.
Yeah, most of it's pretty good. You know, there's rarely a joke that, you know, I kind of roll my eyes or I'm like, I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Far From Home's is pretty solid, I think.
This also holds an emotional punch. So this movie is right after we lose Tony. And that shot when he's, perched up on this building and there's the mural of Iron Man behind him. And he's just got done talking about how wherever I go, I see it. Or, the trailer says that. But he was just talking about how stressed he is. He's getting all these questions. Are you the new Iron Man? Are you this? And, that'd be stressful. Such a beautiful shot. It makes you cry again because it almost makes you relive the snap and losing Tony and how impactful that was. And then, after he just gets... I'm just going to say the scene that we both love because we'll get into it in a second.
I know.
After that scene...
That's going to get a whole section.
And he's picked up in the flowers in the Netherlands... and he's on the plane talking to Happy. That scene always makes me cry too because he talks about how everything's not okay and I messed up and Tony's not here to save me, and that's when Happy comes in with he wouldn't have given you those glasses if he didn't trust you. He wouldn't have done what he did if he didn't know you were going to be here after.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a great scene, a powerful scene, just to show the mentorship was strong, but it was more than just a mentorship. It was almost, Peter Parker doesn't have his dad or his Uncle Ben. Tony doesn't have, he has his daughter, but he doesn't have a son, It almost felt like that father-son relationship, and that scene kind of locks it in.
It's definitely intentional. I mean, even a lot of the scenes from Homecoming solidified it, with the hug. Obviously Peter's trying to cling on to that before Tony is. But something that actually that scene reminded me of, I know we're not talking about Endgame, but is the scene where he sees Peter for the first time and he gives him that hug and Peter's just trying to talk and it does make you feel, because I totally forgot how much Endgame actually has to do with Far From Home.
Yeah.
I totally forgot that whenever the trailer for Far From Home dropped, there's a little PSA from Tom Holland. It's if you haven't seen it, don't watch this.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about doing rewatches on this film, and I can still do this and still find more, I did not realize how much Tony Stark is fucking plastered in the background of every shot.
Yeah.
It's like every scene you can find a little poster or a little mural or just it's
even
everywhere.
When they're in Prague, there's little tribute flowers and stuff on the staircase.
Yeah,
in the middle of Prague.
That's right.
Another speaking of homage to Tony. One of my favorites is the tribute video they make.
Oh my God.
And they have the blurry Captain America, and then they have the Getty images over the candles.
Yeah. Oh, the picture of Vision makes me laugh so much.
That's what was blurry. Yes. The picture of Vision was blurry.
Oh my God. Yeah, because
funny.
Somebody was just running in that airport and was like, who's that pinkish plum guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so amazing. I remember dying. So the Getty Images thing, I didn't even notice that it said Getty Images too pointed out in the theater. Yeah. That's a really funny joke.
Yeah, it works so well because
it's old school edited.
Yeah.
It's perfectly shitty.
Yeah, but that just goes into the comedy being a step above in this one.
Especially, I remember it kind of going back to the whole snap thing, Iron Man thing.
Yeah.
Something I forgot also was after watching Endgame, I remember listening to a YouTuber do the review on Far From Home. His name's the Cosmonaut Variety Hour.
Yeah.
And he said that Spider-Man is the perfect palate cleanser for the end of that phase, as well as being a follow-up to Endgame, which is really heavy and and they don't just hand snap it away. There's still some emotional follow-up from Endgame, and it boils up to that moment you're talking about with Peter. But there's a lot of things that I remember hitting me for the first time watching Far From Home, even though it's meant to be funny. It's man, some people they lost their friends at the end of Endgame. You see a bunch of Peter doesn't recognize a bunch of people and he sees Ned. And that's real emotional.
Yeah.
And just and then there's Jason's talking about how his little brother's older than him now. And it's meant to be funny, but that's rough.
Yeah, for sure. You lightly mentioned it. The action in this movie is really good. I think we get more web swinging.
Yeah.
Not through New York, but we're in big cities. So
at the end we get a little swing.
Yeah. We get a little swing through New York at the end. Yeah. But we get a little more web swinging. I love we get a variety of suits that I like most of them. I do agree that they wasted the red and blue suit from the beginning. To where the end we get that red with that very dark navy suit, and then we get obviously the Night Monkey suit,
which I still like that red navy suit. I actually wish they had stuck with it during No Way Home, and then but I still do like that suit. Yeah, that
and
red.
I like the Night Monkey suit as a suit that's trying to keep him in disguise. It's different,
sure,
but the fight scene we get with the fire elemental, where he's running up the building and he does the back.
It's cool.
There's really good shots and really good action in this movie, and then obviously when he's the whole montage of him wrecking all the drones there in London, also a great action
scene is amazing. I still say to this day, Andrew Garfield swinging looked the best because it looked realistic and, all those things you've heard of a million things. But whenever it comes to using those webs for action, I think that is the best scene. That scene in London, like he's putting them in nets and, he's throwing the net over and he does the electric taser web thing, which was awesome. Yeah. Like he's just flipping a roo all around the place. And then we also get that shot where he's mirroring Cap with the Thor's hammer, which is kind of a cool callback. Yeah. Like, oh man, I love that scene. That and like I'm usually like I don't like when superheroes fight robots. I think that's boring. Yeah. But that scene it's so good. And even whenever he shuts his eyes in the hallway and he focuses in on like the spider senses and so good. The Peter Tingle, if we will. And that's another thing I love about this movie. Is the whole Peter Tingle thing. I like how there's kind of like, it's kind of a joke almost, like kind of like erectile dysfunction. Yeah. Kind of that he's having troubles like getting the Peter Tingle to, and I'm sure that's intentional. But like, I think that's also like, in a way, I know there's lots of theories and there's actually been some explaining that whenever he got decimated, he got snapped away by Thanos and all the trauma that came with Endgame actually actively made him, because he wants to have fun on vacation, whatever. He's like ignoring that part of himself. He's like oppressing it because the last time he felt it was probably the time that he disappeared for however long and lost
5 years,
lost friends and whatever. Yeah. So it's really sad actually. Yeah. That he's like almost afraid of it.
No, this movie has a lot of deep undertones for sure. Yeah, the action, though, so good. That third act, so good when it comes to the action and just the closing of this story as well. The scene we both love.
It's time.
This is one of my favorite scenes, like, ever.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes ever. As far as Spider-Man scenes, so like I said, there's some deep ones.
I guess maybe it's hard to say ever. But comic book movie-wise, it's up there.
If I'm talking the MCU, it is probably top. It's probably top like 3 or 2.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man scenes in general, it's still probably top 3. Like it is up there. Yeah. As far as like because we get like there's some emotional stuff with the Toby movies and Andrew movies and whatever. I like all that stuff. Yeah. That's some of that stuff means more to me. But as far as just like this is a cool Spider-Man scene, as far as a cool Spider-Man scene goes, that might be number 1.
And it's when Mysterio
goes
full illusion on him and leads him into the front of a train.
It's the one thing I wanted out of this movie. Yeah. I remember going in as like an 18-year-old, perfect time to go in for this. Yeah. But just like Mysterio, if you didn't know, Mysterio is probably my favorite Spider-Man villain. Well, behind the Green Goblin. Yeah. Green Goblin's my favorite villain, period. But Mysterio is second, easily, in Spider-Man villains. I freaking love Mysterio. I've played him in every video game almost imaginable that he could possibly be in. I love, like, Spider-Man 2. There's a scene where you fight Mysterio in, like, an upside-down funhouse situation. Friend or foe, you get this. Like, these Master of Illusion. Yeah. There's a lot of scenes that resemble that scene so much. And like finally getting to see that in movie form, and it's executed
so well,
so beautifully. Yeah. The imagery itself, like the Spider-Man in the snow globe, the part where he punches him through like a glass. Like I don't even know how to describe. You just have to know what I'm saying.
It ends up being like a brick pillar.
Yeah, it's like when there's that part too where he, and that's the other thing I like is that not only is he just like beating him up, he's also forcing himself to self-destruct. Yeah. At one point he dives head first into the cement ground. He punches that brick wall. And I like that he uses things that Peter told him, like he loves MJ, like he wants, or he likes MJ, he wants to ask her out, and he's holding her on the
Empire State on the Eiffel Tower.
I was gonna say the Tower of Paris, but I mean I'm not wrong. It's just so. And also, I like that there's not a lot of music. Yeah. And the other thing too is I can't believe we haven't said this, but in my opinion, that Mysterio suit is awesome.
Oh, 100%.
Beautiful. I have one of my best friends is Ben. He's a big Spider-Man fan. He doesn't love the gold plating. I love it because I think that Mysterio suit, sometimes it's just like all green, and I think that's a great way to kind of break it up. And it's supposed to, again, it resembles Iron Man. He's supposed to look like an Iron Man, Thor-esque figure, Iron Man, Doctor Strange-esque figure. Yeah. And like, oh my God, that suit is amazing.
Yeah.
And the things he does with it, like with the spider eyes and it turns into an army of Mysterios. Yeah. I love that shot.
Yep.
Oh my God.
And then when it also turns into a bunch of Spider-Men jumping him, basically.
Yeah.
It's just so cool, so well done. And like you said, it's all visual effects and it's all stunning.
It's so good. And they give it the proper time, they don't rush through it. I mean, God, there's probably a whole 30 seconds of him just walking back while things are dark and Mysterio's walking at him and, scary lighting and stuff. Like, it really makes Mysterio seem really threatening.
Yeah.
And also, this goes back to talking about how Jake Gyllenhaal's performance is great, but that guy is so fucking mean.
Yeah.
He's not like, the Vulture's like, you mess with me, I'll kill you, but like, I don't want to kill you.
Yeah.
Mysterio's like, Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't care. He's like, I'm ready to kill this kid.
He didn't want to kill Peter Parker, the person Peter Parker, but he didn't care who it was. If they got in the way of his plan, they had to be dead.
Absolutely.
Because he did say, like, you're the reason I have to kill Peter Parker. Yeah. And that blood is on your hands.
Yeah, exactly. But it's so unhinged because the Vulture would really be like, again, he really doesn't want to do it. Mysterio really is like, I will absolutely do it. It doesn't mean he wants to. And even like at some points he's like, poor kid and whatever. But like, man, he holds nothing, nothing
he even
back.
Tried to get one last trick in the book there in that final scene and to shoot him.
That scene isn't talked about enough because I remember watching that for the first time, and when that scene happened, I was like, that is weird.
Yeah.
That was weird. I don't get what just happened. And then whenever the illusion falls and he's holding the gun at him, I'm like, that's really good. Yeah. That makes a bunch of, and then he's like, you can't trick me anymore. I'm like, man, that's powerful stuff, man. Yeah. That's an awesome scene.
Yeah.
Mysterio is so good. Also, shout out to that costume. I forgot to say the Steve Ditko era, because Spider-Man at first kind of had like the dark blue. It's more like a black kind of thing. I also think so far with the Spidey costumes, I know this is random, but they've harkened back to a classic version of Peter. Yeah. The red and blue with the eye lenses, and then the same with the red and black. So good. Oh my God.
That scene when he's making the suit's really cool too.
It is. I
love Led Zeppelin.
I usually don't love. That's one of the jokes I'm like, that's funny the first time.
Yeah.
But I don't love him making it in like a machine that makes anything. But again, it fits the universe. It fits where he's at. And then also I'm like, I don't. Who gives a shit? It's how he makes a suit. I'm not that mad at it.
But watching like each stitch be implanted was really cool.
It was cool, and they're planting the eye goggles, and I also like the idea that Tony Stark has this big. We get some references to some other classic alternative Spider-Man suits whenever he's looking at like options for like, okay, I'll take this gadget, this gadget, this guy, and I also like the implications of that scene, which is he's stepping out from Tony Stark's shadow. Yeah. He's being his, which I know that's been the arc of all three of these movies, but I like the idea that it's him kind of mirroring him, but part of it too is he also didn't load in the taser webs and the 500 web combo. He took exactly the things he needed to be Spider-Man, and he left. He got a little parachute in there. That scene's funny. It's awesome. That scene's awesome.
There's a lot to like about this one. Like you said, it's your favorite from this trilogy. It's right behind my favorite, and just the combination of Mysterio and the rest of the crew, and it's fun. It's fun.
Man, it's a real fun one. The VFX looks good.
VFX are awesome.
The score from our man Michael Giacchino is always good. Yep. The things that you expect to be good are still good in there. There's a good Spider-Man story in there, and like also, even though on rewatches, whenever that Talos is actually Nick Fury, you can kind of see that it. And this kind of goes for Jake Gyllenhaal too. They're both doing good, bad impersonations. You could tell Nick Fury's kind of off with some of the things. He's a little off. You can tell he doesn't know as much as he says. Like, you can tell he doesn't know as much as he usually does. And same thing with Mysterio. Whenever he's playing this good guy act on rewatches, when it's a good guy act, you go, some of the acting feels kind of stale, but it's because he's not an actor. He's trying to act like
That's
a
how
hero.
Good they are at acting.
He's good at doing that.
Yeah.
Because I was like, it's not bad. Like, you wouldn't notice it on the first watch, but on the second watch, you're like, he's being off. That's good stuff. Yeah. And like, even though it's not Nick Fury, he's still doing. I like the Nick Fury that we get. Honestly,
yeah.
I like the what he's got with Peter, and I also like that Talos does get some things right. Like he yells at Peter a lot. He's kind of a dick.
Yeah.
And something that I wanted to purposely bring up in the good is also that scene where he yells at Peter, where he's like, he doesn't really yell, but he's like, "You got gifts, but Parker, you didn't want to be here." Yeah. He's like, "You got to figure out whether you're going to step up or not." That scene always hits me because you can see Peter's like teary eyed.
Yeah, with the goggles flipped up.
Yeah, like that. It hits. Yeah, that one actually.
One more good I'd like to throw in the good, and if you have anything else, you can add it. Post credit scene.
Yeah,
I think we get a really good post credit scene. Obviously, setting up, but we get J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons back in the.
Do you remember watching that for the first time? Everybody erupting.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it because I was excited. But I just remember sitting for a second and going, everyone else is excited about this too.
Yeah. Here's the kick. Spider-Man is Peter Parker.
That's a great ending because that's how a lot of comic books end. With like a this person's exposed and where's it gonna go next and whatever.
I love how we even get the exaggeration too of who will with no doubt go down as the greatest superhero to ever live. Yeah. Like I love how we get the exaggeration that you expect from J. Jonah Jameson
Absolutely.
as well. And it's a good post-credit scene, and that's where we get the, the Spidey in New York swinging with MJ, and that scene's just, it's good. Really good.
I also really love the way that, we all know that Mysterio is like a team now, which is a really interesting concept that I very much get behind.
Yeah.
With it not just being one person. And because that you see not only the editing around things to make it seem like, Spider-Man saying execute everybody, execute all the destructive, whatever. Also, on rewatched, something that I never thought to look for, Beck is wearing the Mysterio costume in the video. Like they CG'd it on to him. Because he's wearing like a mocap suit anyway. Yeah. So, which is also, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
But they mocapped the Mysterio suit over top of him. Just like, I don't know, that's a good attention to detail.
Oh, really good attention to detail, for sure.
Yeah, it's great.
Do you have any other good that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, it's like I said, some of the comedies really well. I really like a lot of the side characters like Angourie Rice.
Yep.
Jacob Batalon, obviously,
we get a little relationship
Zendaya.
between them.
I like that. I think it's funny. And by the end, they break up. They're like, he's like,
you'll never forget the memories you made and all that. Like Jacob Batalon's all trying to be wise,
and they're like totally okay with it and whatever.
He's like, I got on the plane a boy, then I met a woman, and I got off the plane a man.
Exactly. I love that entire thing. I love that.
I love the teachers.
Oh, I love the teachers.
Hilarious.
I love them. One of my favorite scenes in this is probably JB Smoove getting off the bus going, toilet.
He almost falls.
He slips in the rocks as he's trying to run.
I love how he's always like, not me.
Yeah. Then you get the part where...
Don't mix me in with yours.
Where Martin starts yelling at him. He's like, I'm doing my best, Julius. And so good. They're really good. And also, I laugh every time he's like, you know what I think it is? Witches.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. JB Smoove is so funny.
They're both so good. They're really, really funny in this movie.
That's a good duo.
For sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all I got.
All right, so we'll hop over to the meh. And I think the only thing I'd really put in the meh is, we already touched on it, is it not being New York City kind of makes it feel less like a Spider-Man movie. But it's not enough, again, to kill the movie, because what they did with it was good. But I'd still probably put it in the meh just because, I get it, it's far from home, it's summer vacation, but like...
They want to do something different, I get
Spidey NYC, baby.
Yeah. For me, personally... Is that all you had to say?
That's all I really have in the meh.
I agree with that. Obviously, we talked about it. I totally agree with that exact thing. Something that I kind of get bugged by, especially now that on this rewatch, I realize... Peter changes costumes like every fucking scene in this movie.
Yeah, he does.
Like, he has the Iron Spider scene for like 2 scenes now that we get the Mafia scene.
4 or 5 suits in this movie, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then he gets the Night Monkey scene.
Then he gets Iron Spider, then he gets the blue and red.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Then he gets Night Monkey.
We get back to blue and red. We get the Night Monkey scene. And then in that Mysterio trip out scene, we see him in the homemade suit. We see the red and blue suit. We see the Iron... we see all the suits. Then we see the red and black suit. And then we just know in No Way Home in like an hour, he's going to be back to wearing not like 30 minutes, he's going to be back to the Iron Spider suit. And that's future stuff, I guess. But just like, it really bugs me. Like, holy shit, this guy cannot stick to one goddamn costume.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
It bugs me a little bit.
Another Matt I thought of, and it's kind of a nitpick more than it is like something that ruins a movie. Why the hell did they have to land that plane in the beautiful ass flower field? They just wrecked that flower field.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I get it. It's aesthetically pleasing to look at. Couldn't you just park past it? Like,
just a little bit.
But I see them landing and the flowers shooting everywhere, and I was like, do you know how much time it probably took to grow that field? Like,
did you know that scene is CG?
Oh, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, which I didn't know. And now, like, rewatching, I'm like, oh, I guess I do see it is CG. I can't be bothered by it, though. I didn't notice it.
I was going to say, it looks really good. It looks real. Mm-hmm. It doesn't surprise me because I don't think the Netherlands or, anything like that would be like, yeah, you can wreck my flowers. Yeah. So that's why I kind of assumed it's
You CG. Want to park a jet onto... Yeah.
So, like, I kind of assumed it was because, I mean, if you're the owner of that field and you're just like, yeah, Spider-Man wrecked my field for a movie that will take 5 minutes to shoot.
Spider-Man wreck my field. That's the next one.
Yeah. Spider-Man... Flowers are wrecked.
Spider-Man flowers erect.
Whoa!
It's about them growing back. That's the sequel.
Growing back of the flowers.
There you go.
That's just a nitpick. I'm always like, man, it just irks me as somebody that's seen Rosie work really hard in the garden. What it takes to grow plants.
Yeah.
Like that, just like abolished like 4 months of work.
Absolutely. 4 months is putting it easy.
Like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But oh man, it's still like. That's nothing that like obviously makes a movie bad or good, but it's just something I had to get off my chest. Like,
sure.
Respect for the florist.
That's fine. That gives me the same vibes as like this isn't really. You're like this is my only nitpick against you, and he's like kind of sad, You're like the relationship stuff sucks. It ended that way.
Yeah,
I was like
we didn't get closure.
Fair enough.
We didn't get closure.
Fair enough.
But that's really it for me and the Matt.
Mm-hmm. And the only other main thing I can think of. Oh, this is a nitpick thing. I have 2 things. Nitpicky, as much as I kind of like the CGI costume thing, I wish in that final scene where he's on the bridge that he had been wearing his quick change suit. Yeah. At least so that way whenever you fuck him up, you see him in the cape and the... Yeah. Just because that's just the stuff I like. I like to see him in the costume.
Yeah.
So there's that. Another nitpicky thing that I just remembered. You remember the part where they're in... is it Venice or Prague? No, Prague. Prague, where they're having the big party and then they fight the molten man or whatever.
Yeah.
After that scene, they go have a drink at the bar. By the way, that's a really good scene. We should have talked about that. The illusion slowly going down.
Where we find out the illusion, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great scene. They both just go in wearing their superhero costumes and no masks, and they're just hanging out at that bar.
You're not wrong.
Granted, Mysterio knew that was all his friends. Peter didn't. Peter walked in there being like, my friends can't know that I'm the Night Monkey and we're Spider-Man. He just takes the mask off and walks in his Night Monkey suit.
In his defense...
Next to the guy wearing the big glowing chest plate and the green pants.
In his defense, the Night Monkey suit is pretty subtle once you lose the mask. But when you're sitting there next to Mysterio...
That's what I was going to say. Watching it, I was like, he could kind of get away with that. And I went, ooh, he's sitting next to Beck still. And he's got a big glowing gold chest plate and green arms. I'm like, that's a mistake. Yeah. But I guess it didn't matter because by the end he got fucked anyway.
Yeah.
And the only other like actual not stupid nitpicky thing, this movie sets up a trend that really pushes me off in a bad way in the next film, which is slowly phasing out Ned for MJ. That is something I don't appreciate.
That's fair.
I love Ned, and I actually like Zendaya being the MJ reveal. I like all that stuff. That's a good pick. And I definitely would have preferred her to be a little more accurate to what I know MJ to be in the comics, but whatever, something different. We've seen the model Broadway girl. But it's kind of like, it seems very sudden that, because in the last movie, he kind of has to give it all up with Liz because he's like, responsibility. I can't tell her about her father, yada, yada. She's got to go. And that's a really good scene where she's like, what's going on with you? I hope you figure it out. All that stuff. And then just in Far From Home, the very first thing he says, he's like, I need to find a plan to go sit next to MJ because she's the thing I care about most. And it's very sudden considering she was in the entire last movie. You could tell she likes him.
Yeah.
But it's like his mind wasn't... It just seems very sudden.
Yeah.
And then...
and things could have happened off screen in the time frame.
Sure.
For sure.
They did have a whole year of school, so I can't be that mad at it.
But they were blipped.
Well, remember they said that when they came back, they had to restart the whole year over again.
That's true.
So they had to have been somewhere towards the beginning.
That's fair. So there could have been, time, but I agree it is sudden. I will say, and we'll get into this next week with our No Way Home review.
Our Flowers Are Wrecked review.
Yeah, I do think they had a good balance with Ned and MJ and No Way Home, which again we'll deep dive into that next week. But I get what you're saying at the same time.
Yes, yeah,
because Ned's the guy.
They're like
Ned's the type of guy you build a Death Star with.
That's the type of guy you build the Death Star with, is damn right. And also in Far From Home, it's not as prevalent, really.
Yeah.
And also that's something that I probably should have put in the good is his pursuit of MJ is very realistic for a high schooler, because they do get fixated on even now as an adult, I won't lie. You get a girl that you like and you're like, this is the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
And it can totally make or break everything.
Yeah, for sure.
And it make or breaks this trip pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's very realistic in that way. I think there is a good balance. It's just that I know what's coming. That starts to bug. So I guess it's not as big of a problem here as it is. It's like buzzing in the back of my brain that I know where it's going. I think that's all I have. Nothing for the bad.
I don't have anything with bad either.
Yeah.
So we'll go straight to our final thoughts and rating then. What do you want to leave off with Far From Home, and what do you rate this bad boy out of 10?
I mean, in general, it's not a perfect movie. It's not a perfect Spider-Man movie even. It's not my favorite Spider-Man movie even. It's, but all in all, it is a good movie, a really good movie. I would even say maybe even a great movie.
Oh,
it's incredible.
I think it's a phenomenal film.
And in the MCU and the broader scheme of things, I mean, man, this is a solid movie.
Underrated.
Absolutely, it's very underrated. It gets a lot of hate on Twitter that I will never understand.
Yeah.
As far as villains go, the villain's fantastic. One of my favorite. The side characters, obviously, they're on point. You get a lot more side characters, but that's not too bad. It's a new iteration. Just in general, there's a lot to love about this film. Yeah. The action's good. You get a good Spider-Man core story in there, too. And also, this is something we didn't bring it up, but, I love the relationship between him and his aunt now. Now that she knows, I actually like that way more than I like the Aunt May who has no idea.
Yeah. I
actually really like that relationship.
Putting the suit in his bag.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. I love the emotional baggage it brings, the levity it brings. I remember after watching Endgame, it was like on one side of me was shedding a tear and the other side of me was smiling, because of this film. So, in general, it's a great one. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
8.5? I go 9 out of 10 on Far From Home. And, outside of the Tobey movies, we have a lot of disagreements when it comes to the rest of the Spider-Man movies. And this is one that we both tend to love, and we had a lot of fun watching again this last time in theaters.
I think I had the most fun watching it this time.
And man, it is a great movie. You put it in New York, I think it's in conversation for one of my favorite Spider-Man movies.
Oh,
that's really the only thing that I can knock it on.
I'll be the first to say, if it was set in New York and he wore that Mysterio costume a little more, I'd probably be giving it a 10.
Yeah. But I still enjoy what they did despite it not being in New York. And like you said, Mysterio's awesome. Tom Holland's the man. Jacob Batalon's the man. We get J.K. Simmons back. I can't really complain, man.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
But, yeah. No Way Home next week.
Get ready for that one. Because if you want some disagreement... This is probably our chance to get the most heated argument you can ever get out of us.
One more Spider-Man movie. But that'll do it for Spider-Man Far From Home. Thank you all for watching. Kory.
Yes, thank you for having me on, brother. Russell, I'm sorry for just blowing in this microphone. That was a stupid idea.
It's okay. He'll wizard it up. But thank you all again for watching. If you like what you're watching, please check out some of these other videos. Hit the subscribe button or follow the social links down below. And we will talk to you guys all soon. See ya.